We speak now to KwaZulu-Natal Research and Violence Monitor Mary Haas about the spate of killings of councillors in the province. A very good evening to Professor, and thank you so much for speaking to us. So I just want to look at this latest killing. There obviously have been a spate of political killings in the province for a number of years now that has caused a great deal of alarm and consternation. If we look at these figures, 17 councillors assassinated in the past 10 months. Is the situation getting worse?
It's difficult to tell. It seems to be. I mean, maybe you're just getting more reports because, you know, when these people get killed, I mean, if they're councillors or party officials for that matter, sometimes you don't hear about them, sometimes you do. A lot depends on reporting. A lot depends, I mean, from my point of view, a lot depends on what people in different areas tell me. So it does appear that there do appear, I mean, since, you know, this is not like, you know, just before local government elections when, you know, the tension's hot up. I mean, it's we've still got a while to go until elections next year. So it does seem to be higher than usual from the figures that are being given. But, yeah, as I said, it's probable that it is higher. And don't forget that when people in political office, including councillors, get killed, it may be politically driven, and it often is, but it could also be that the councillor has, for example, taxi interests or business interests or, you know, is having an affair with someone's husband or wife. I mean, those are ordinary motives in killing. So, as I said, some of them could be linked to motives other than politics, but until there's more information about the context in which the killings are happening, you know, the tensions, inter-party, intra-party, and what local people know about it, it's really difficult. As I said, we have to treat them, because they're politicians, in that category of being linked to politics, while further information about possible motives is investigated.
Now, Professor Haas, I ask this next question, you know, I'll add a disclaimer before that. So I ask with the greatest of caution, and I know one may be accused of leading into conspiracy theories, but when we look at the figure of how many councillors have died in the past year, 39 we're told, of which 17, as we said, were assassinations, 3 were car accidents, 2 suicides, 17 of natural causes. But there has been speculation in South Africa over the past couple of years, dare I say even a decade, about car accidents possibly being used as forms of assassination or eliminating of political opponents. Has there been enough of these incidents to occur to lend credence to such speculation?
Look, it's something, it's a long story that, I mean, it's a long-standing allegation, goes right back, you know, in the early 90s, people would sometimes check under their cars or check their cars. Look, it's a very real possibility that people, I'm not saying it's common, but it can happen. And it's happened over the years in several cases where there's, you know, there's very suspicious circumstances relating to car accidents, and that fuels speculation. But, I mean, the problem is that unless you get a very thorough technical investigation, which, you know, as the general public, we don't get reports about whether that even happens. It should do if there's a suspicion, obviously, but whether there are the facilities to do that, accident scene experts, people in the police who, you know, who are kind of just there as having knowledge about checking up on whether there were deliberately, you know, the brakes have been tampered with or something else. One doesn't get to know whether there's any credence in the allegations at all, but certainly, I mean, in one case, which was a very conspicuous case, in which the legal advisor of the late King Zwelithini died in a car accident in the late 90s. And although there was a degree of cover-up, those of us who looked very carefully at the circumstances know that that wasn't a car accident. It was an orchestrated accident in which the late Stuma Mate, who was the legal advisor, and I may add also the controller of the Ingonyama Trust at the time, before the board was set up. It was more than an accident. Now, if it can happen there, it can happen in other instances.
Now, just to reflect back on the killings that continue unabated for the past 6 years, especially after the Mwerani Commission sat and probed the political killings in the province, they submitted recommendations to the KwaZulu-Natal government. Have any of those been implemented? And the root cause of these continual killings been stemmed in some way or the other?
Oh, look, there's the general aspect of crime, because the problem is the state of policing in South Africa, quite frankly. I mean, crime intelligence at the moment is almost disintegrating. There's a go-slow. It's like somebody wants to sabotage crime intelligence, quite frankly. I mean, crime intelligence is in a particularly precarious situation right now, and the crime intelligence is what should have preempted what happened in July 21. If crime intelligence were working and it was apolitical, because that's the other problem, the police have been very heavily politicized. And if we had an apolitical police service and a crime intelligence service that would pick up threats to councillors, it would give warning to the police, it would help investigators. I mean, crime intelligence is supposed to function not just provincially and nationally, but at a community level at different police stations. So if it was functioning properly, the threats to councillors would be, in many cases, picked up, and then preemptive action could be taken. But it's not. It's the same with all the crime. Crime intelligence is dysfunctional right now. And that's not to say that armed members are just still trying to do their jobs properly, but it is badly managed. In fact, it's basically managed by the minister.
And I'd like to end on that note, the management thereof. SALGA had previously encouraged Police Minister Bheki Cele to establish a special investigating team to deal with political assassinations in the province, and are now calling for the police to hand over dockets to the specialized unit. Does the solution lie in that?
There's hardly any convictions. Nobody knows what they're doing. It is grossly irregular for a team of detectives to report to the national minister, which is what happens. The national minister, a lot of these people in KZN may be colleagues, the suspects may be colleagues of the national minister. It is unconstitutional. And I mean, one person who did get a very good conviction of a political killing says that, you know, for all he knows, it's the only one. Very few. The operations of this team are opaque. We don't know what they're doing. We hear, oh, we've made arrests, we've done this or that. But I mean, I've got lists of, say, the 2016 elections. And I mean, I don't know if there's one conviction, one or two convictions, that's it. I mean, I don't know what they're doing. It's a waste of money. It's unconstitutional. It's irregular. And as I said, there's just no transparency in who's involved. The resources right now, in fact, they're costing the earth, this ministerial task team. They swan around staying in hotels. They cost taxpayers a lot of money that we need for ordinary policing, and they have achieved virtually nothing.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing with us your insights. She is violence monitor and researcher in KwaZulu-Natal on this very matter, Professor Mary de Haas.